Hi, I'm Siobhan Hardy from Corinium. Today we're going to be exploring the areas of getting up the value chain, how to demonstrate value in a time of uncertainty, selling your data story within your business, and also how data and analytics will be changing in the post-COVID world. It is my absolute pleasure to be joined by Sam Stark, Head of Data and Analytics, Marketing and Sales at Foxtel. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Sam, how do you move up the value chain and ensure that your data and analytics team is achieving its full potential?
Really, I think it's about, over the long term, earning trust and showing that you're delivering high impact results. And the more you do that, the more that we do that, the more that we'll be asked to do that. So I don't think you come in and say from day one, we're going to do all this stuff and just step back and watch us do it. I think yes, you aim hard and you push for the bigger opportunities. You don't want to be doing the rats and mice stuff that isn't really adding that value. So you want, in my experience, to drive the proper decision making around what work you're doing, but there is definitely that element of earning the trust to get the big questions.
How do you move from being a reporting function to being a strategic analytics function?
We are doing a lot of both of those things, the reporting and strategic questions. I don't think it's a case of just saying, all right, we're going to do the strategic stuff now, because that's cool and that's where we should be working. I think in many cases the reporting is strategic. Without that reporting, the business doesn't have visibility on all the key metrics. So I think without getting the reporting done first, in many cases, you can't move along that ladder. So we have really focused on getting reporting in the right place and are still working on some of that reporting and not just spitting out reports, but building proof of concepts, testing the waters, seeing what works, what's right. And then once we've landed on the right sort of reporting, then automating that process so that frees up time to move on to perhaps some more reporting and perhaps some bigger questions. But ultimately, we want to get the basics, the base level right, automate that, and then sort of work on the bigger questions, I guess. If we don't do that first, people will get distracted and we won't be able to move up that chain.
Moving on to this idea of the analytics team being an order taker, how do you move to being a partner in solving business problems?
Me and my team, we spend most of our time with marketing in our business, and I can say definitely in my experience, the marketers want me and my team to be doing more strategic work, and my team want to be doing more strategic work. So there's absolutely alignment there. That doesn't mean we don't get caught up in the order taking and the small pieces of work. So, or the I guess not so much small, but the more urgent rather than the important. So for us, it's been about, and again, this is a journey. It's been about prioritising effectively, and that's prioritising together with stakeholders, where we sit down and say, what work do we want to be doing here? And things like matrix of value versus time, and really ensuring that together we're getting the right questions into our team, and the work that we're putting back is of value. Because as I said, everybody wants that. It's just a matter of getting everybody aligned on the day-to-day discipline of exactly what people are going to do today and tomorrow.
I'd like to ask about selling your data story within the business. How do you balance the art of the possible with your ability to deliver and exceed expectations?
The stakeholders we work with are receptive to big ideas. They want the same things that we want. They see the dream, so to speak. They see the importance of data in decision making. So there's not a big uphill battle to get people to buy into what the future looks like. I think really just helping articulate the journey to get there in pieces. So it's not just this vision that's 3 years away. It's, okay, well, that's where we want to get to. This is what we're going to do tomorrow and then next month and the month after to take us on the journey there, so that everybody's clear on how we're going to get there.
So Sam, how do you communicate to the company the data that they need to move things forward? In
Foxtel, again, we're very lucky. We have a lot of data. We have no shortage of data. Our challenge at the moment is getting all that data in the right place and the right format and on the right systems to allow us to use it in a timely manner. There are some ad hoc cases where we want to bring in some third-party data and build on what we've got, but absolutely our priority is using and understanding our existing data in a meaningful way.
So Sam, how do you set up your teams to respond to questions that you can't necessarily predict?
Okay, so As I mentioned earlier, we're spending a lot of time building reporting, for example, but not just building and automating reporting. We're not just doing reporting in that way. So the analyst team that works with me, my analyst team, are really in many ways building proof of concepts, tools, apps, self-serve functionality that business users should be able to go in and get what they need almost instantaneously, rather than having to brief an analyst to answer a question. So really, once we get those tools in place, and as we deliver more and more of those capabilities, the business user can, whatever the question they come up with, they can get an answer quickly. They don't need to wait on us, and we don't need to be predicting what they're going to ask, at least not at that granular level. It's all just sitting there waiting for them. Our job is to empower them and educate them as to what it means and how to use it, and let them go wild.
We're now operating in an environment where data savviness has increased hugely. And how do we build from this?
People are definitely more data savvy, that all the stakeholders that we work with, and maybe there's some COVID impact on that, but I think it was happening before that. The marketers that we work with, where in the past we might put up a chart, for example, and have to spend some time explaining what does it mean and what are the axes and what's an index or whatever it might be. Marketers are picking those things up much more quickly now, and we're not spending time talking about the functional elements of a piece of analysis, and more into what it means and what's our next step and how do we apply this to the business, which is great. They're the conversations we want to be having. So we're just on that journey, which is a great place to be.
So tell me, how does data become part of the business DNA?
Data is not really sort of a compelling term. It's not, wow, data. It's more the understanding that comes from data. And I think you would struggle to find a C-level executive out there who doesn't really value high-powered decision making, where it's based on real facts and evidence. So I think it's a natural progression. Data will and is already central to the functioning of business. Some might say the brain of the organisation, if it's interpreted correctly and applied to business problems.
Looking at the future of data and analytics post-COVID, how do you ask the right questions of your data?
The decision should be a collaborative one with stakeholders, and it's not data questions, it's not analytics questions, it's business questions that we need to really understand. And me and my team work hard to have that really detailed understanding of what the business needs and predict what they need before they know what they need. But we don't do that without a really strong collaborative approach with those business stakeholders. They know their business inside out, so we need to learn from them and continue to learn to the point where we can predict what they might want before they know they want it themselves, so to speak.
Since the beginning of COVID-19, what changes have you seen in the data that you're receiving from your customers?
The type of data that we're looking at hasn't changed. We are seeing some trends in the way our customers are behaving that we hadn't seen before, and we're watching closely to see how those differ over time. For example, at the moment, Melbourne is a very different place to the rest of Australia, and we see that in the behaviour that we've got from our customers. So really it's, from an analytics point of view, it's business as usual in terms of the data that we're looking at, but the findings we're coming out with are differing over time.
So Sam, what do you believe the post-COVID business will look like?
Post-COVID at Foxtel will be different, but I don't think that's COVID driving things dramatically. Obviously there are changes from COVID, but these are things that were happening anyway. So our business is transforming from less of a set-top box in-house business to more of an IP-based on your phone, on the go, wherever you want to watch type business. That's a long-term strategy that's in play. And COVID has probably sped that up, just as COVID has sped a lot of things up in the world at the moment. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out, but definitely we're seeing much more IP-based viewing of content.
In your opinion, in the future of data, what do you believe is the biggest excitement and also the biggest threat? Well,
if we think long term, the greatest excitement in my view is the application of AI, artificial intelligence, ML, the space where we take some of that day-to-day decision making away from people, where we're making assumptions and so on, and put it in the hands of machines where they can make that many transactions and pieces of analysis that quickly that it really drives real-time decision making in a way that's just not possible for people. So applications of that are virtually endless, but replacing call center or customer service with a person with an AI solution, I guess, that really looks like a person and feels and behaves like a person, a really emotional connection. I think that's really exciting. The threats side of things, if we're going really long term, and I must admit I don't really understand the implications here, but very smart people, Gates and so on, are talking about the dangers of giving machines too much power in that space. So how do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line? And hopefully we know where to draw the line before it's too far and we've rolled over the edge.
Sam, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your thoughts with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been great.